Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL Game Week 34, a deadline stream, and it's live. Don't get in a panic, it's 24 hours until the deadline. But obviously myself and Suj will be participating in the social media blackout against online discrimination, which starts at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. The original thinking was not to do a stream at all, but I thought you'd probably still want it, so I've decided rather than do it at an odd time tomorrow, I've just decided to bring it 24 hours forward. So you have still got 25 hours until the FPL deadline. It does mean some of my decision making could well change. My captaincy is certainly not going to change and stuff unless Harry Kane was to be ruled out. But yeah, there's still plenty of time for things to change in my own thinking. My team is on the screen at the moment. I am planning to go without any transfers, roll a transfer. I think information is way too important this week for me. I do obviously have a Rafinha concern, but I'd hate to get rid of him, and he might be back next week, when the original plan was obviously to roll a transfer in any case. So I'm lining up this week with Bernd Leno in goal, a back four of Dallas, Rudiger, Fofana, Reguilon, a midfield three of Salah, Lingard, Heung-min Son, up front Jamie Vardy, vice-captain Kelechi Iheanacho, and captain Harry Kane. Diogo Jota first sub, Ezri Konsa second sub, and obviously Rafinha third sub. Fraser Forster is the sub goalkeeper. Benching dilemmas you will see below me on the screen. Those with the tick is the preferred option between the two. They do run in order. There's 5 pages worth. The first 4 pages are outfield players, and the final page is goalkeeper dilemmas. To the left of the screen, you will see predictions for the schedule for the weekend. That may help you with some of your benching dilemmas as well. You'll also see the fixture tracker at the bottom, which shows basically every team's remaining fixtures except for the unconfirmed doubles, which I'm very much expecting an announcement before 3 p.m. tomorrow with some sort of confirmation on the movement of fixtures. I still am anticipating a double game week 35, where we would see double game weeks for Manchester United, Leicester, Chelsea, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Aston Villa and Everton. Then see a blank game week 36, where 16 teams would play. It would mean a blank for Manchester United, Leicester, Chelsea and Arsenal. If we do not get that announcement before 3 p.m. tomorrow, we're not going to get it until at least Tuesday. What we obviously can't guarantee is that FPL will move the deadlines, but I think it would be pretty daft if they didn't. So, get your questions into the chat. I probably won't move forward through this as fast-paced as per usual, mainly because I'm not expecting, obviously, as many viewers, as we've got over 24 hours until the deadline. So, hopefully, I can cover everybody's questions that come into the chat. However, I will have to end the stream sharp at 6:30 p.m, as I do have another recording tonight for tomorrow's Clash of the Correspondents with Turfy Topper and FPL Sky Addict previewing Burnley and West Ham, which will go out for you obviously before the blackout deadline, be on YouTube. I suspect probably around about 11 a.m. in the morning for you. We obviously already posted today as well another Clash of the Correspondents, really interesting, with at Spirit_Blues and Adam Hotcroft previewing Everton and Aston Villa, 2 teams we just cannot get off our minds ahead of this weekend because of the potential for 35, and they also have an excellent game week 36 fixture. Let's get into the fixtures. The one and only Lee says, have Leno and Forster. Yeah, me too. Thoughts on Pickford in, wary of Leno and Forster's minutes, so covering blank game week 26. Well, look, there's Arsenal information to learn tonight because they're playing in Europa League. I suspect that Leno probably will play against Newcastle on Sunday. If I don't have a goalkeeper this week, then I don't have a goalkeeper this week. It's pretty much it. I'm looking at it. I am much better at the moment taking the information and rolling. Look, I had Leno in goal last week and it got me 0 points, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't see anything that I'm desperate to get in this week, but I think Lee, kind of as what I've just alluded to, I can see the reason with Pickford. We spoke about it a lot with Sean and Adam on that COTC we did earlier. We obviously spoke about Emi Martinez as well, and they are the 2 obvious go-tos if you've got a goalkeeper issue, in my opinion. Martinez, or obviously if it's unaffordable, then of course Jordan Pickford. GK16, hi James, what is your opinion on this weekend's social media blackout? Do you think it can impact social media companies given the statement Twitter put out on Sky Sports today? Well, I've seen the statement that Twitter put out that was shown on Sky Sports today, and it's fucking farcical, frankly. It's bullshit. So we've got to pressure these guys to say that actually what they're doing right now is unacceptable. What they don't want to do is they don't want to have verification of people, which is what I'd like to push for, because they know they'll lose a number of users. But that's the way they need to go, in my opinion. I'm happy to put my driving license or a passport or any of those sort of details in. And everybody says, well, do I want to sign up for that? Well, listen, every time you buy something online, you've got to put in your card details and stuff. You got an account with a bank. Bank could get frauded. Twitter could get frauded. Or they at least do it and say, right, well, you've got to show some sort of verification if you want to tweet and respond to people. So you can be completely inactive, still have a Twitter account, but you don't have the power to tweet anything. All you can do is look at it. And that's how we'll get rid of these people. For me, it's very, very simple. It's time for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to take responsibility for some of the messages that are getting posted on their platform. I agree with people who are saying, yeah, well, you shouted about the Super League and now you're going silent on social media. I understand that and I don't disagree with that opinion, but this is a starting point. All the big companies related to football are on board with it, so I'm certainly going to be supporting it as well. I think the major FPL content creators are going to be in support of it as well. No, not everybody is, and they're entitled to that opinion. It's absolutely fine. There's no force to do it. I'm not going to think of anybody different if I see them tweeting over the weekend. But my response to it is I'm going to be silent over the weekend. Then the first thing we're going to drop once this social media blackout ends is a podcast on online discrimination in football. So we're going to stay quiet. Then we're going to have a voice on the other side to push through. And we'd certainly like some support with that as well. Shifo says, do you reckon a 40-point gap between mini-league rival can be catched? The bastard captain Wood last week. Any differentials to help? Well, you've already answered that, Shifo, because Chris Wood got, 20 points last week? If your man captained him, that's 40 points. So you can do that back to your mini-league opponent. Alex Man, fully support you doing the blackout. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. FPL captain, my man on the graphics. Give him a follow on Twitter, but don't do it till the social media blackout's finished, or at least do it before 3 o'clock tomorrow. This is afternoon, mate. Good luck this week, and to you too, my friend. Tiffy Ferreira, is it FPL deadline today? Oh shit, I missed it then. No, you didn't. Dylan Farrell, good luck this weekend, James. Big fair play to yourself and Sujay, the social media blackout. I didn't hesitate as soon as I saw the Premier League statement. Within the first time I saw it, which was within an hour, I just posted straight away. I didn't even speak to Suj. I just said, yeah, we're doing it. And Suj was like, yeah, of course, 100%. Rowan S said, evening, James. What to do with Ricardo Pereira? Keep him or take him out for a hit? Well, I think it's very dependent on what your bench is, but I would expect him to come back into the Leicester team tomorrow night. So you want the coverage, obviously. I know it's going to be really, really frustrating at the moment. I don't quite understand. Obviously, Roger said originally that he can't play 3 times in a week, so we accepted why he didn't play against West Brom. Then not playing at all against Crystal Palace was a little bit bizarre. But I would expect him to play against Southampton tomorrow. Obviously, if he doesn't play tomorrow, then you've got to be. If you've got the bench, I'd be holding on, personally. Elliot says, Vardy to Kane or Roll? Well, that depends. You got Iheanacho as well. Iheanacho is a very viable captaincy alternative. I think Jamie Vardy is as well. You can see my top 10 captaincy selections for the game week on the right hand side of the screen towards the bottom. I think Kane's the standout, and I think Iheanacho is the way to go if you want to go and oppose that. So if you want to oppose Harry Kane, then by all means, you can go Vardy as well. Of course you can. I think if you've got no other pressing issues, my advice would be make the transfer, personally. This was the one thing I'd warned against a lot of people last week about selling Kane, was you are going to look at the fixtures this week and probably want him back. Monkey Pill says, hi James, do you think Bruno to Son is worth the transfer this week? Same thing, right? Next week Manchester United are probably suddenly going to walk into a double game week. Are you going to want Bruno Fernandes back? So it's the same thing. Bruno is kind of, in my opinion, he's obviously not doing great at the moment, particularly from an FPL perspective. I would say return is imminent, is how I would perceive Bruno at the moment. Can go off at any time and in any game. We know it's just one simple penalty from one of Liverpool's car crash defenders, and they've got a few, and he's walking away with a 10-11 pointer. We saw that at the Etihad not that long ago. So I probably wouldn't, actually. I'd just roll with it. I mean, I've got Bruno Fernandes on the captaincy. Excuse me, tracker. This week. I don't think he's the worst shout by any means, actually. So I probably wouldn't, just purely on the basis that you're probably going to want him back. In terms of, do I think Son will outscore Fernandes this week? Yeah, of course. FPL Invincible says, good afternoon, James. Vardy, Rafinha to Wood and Son for -4. Any thoughts? My thoughts are no. In the first instance, my friend. I would be looking at alternatives to Rafinha, or I would be more keen to roll a transfer. As long as you've got the bench coverage this week. I mean, my intention was to play Rafinha this week, but I mean, I've got Fofana. I'm still leaving Jota on the bench, right? I don't need to force through any transfers. If you've got any sort of benching dilemma this week, I would say roll. You're going to be. It kind of feels reactionary with Wood. I know he's done well the last few weeks, and obviously got a hat-trick against Wolves. He's got a difficult fixture against West Ham this week. They haven't been great defensively, admittedly. Vardy's also got a brilliant fixture. Vardy single-handedly could outscore Wood and Son this weekend. So for me, it's a no. Lamichi says, hi James, start Fofana or holding Fofana equivalent to Pereira. Don't think Pereira's on I haven't put the Leicester guys on the bench in dilemma because my take on it was, I think with Leicester and Chelsea players and Tottenham players, my take on it this week was that if you had the assets, you would play them, was my take on that. So, yeah, definitely Fofana over holding for me. I actually think Arsenal might get beat at Newcastle on Sunday. Matt J says, hi James, I'm torn between starting Jota or Bowen. I'm chasing in a few mini leagues and nobody has Bowen. Reasonable to go Bowen. Absolutely reasonable to go Bowen, mate. Angus McPhail, if you were bringing in one of Mateus, Pereira, Foden or Mahrez this week, which one would you say is the best? I do have a strong bench if that affects the answer with the City guys. Well, I would not be buying a Manchester City player unless I had some sort of leak tomorrow afternoon that was going to tell me what the team was. I can tell you that Ederson will be in goal and the rest would be an absolute guess. I can tell you almost definitely that Laporte will play. Beyond that, not a clue. And that's why you'll see Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus on the captaincy list, because I think they're quite likely to play. The others, the Mahrezes, the Fodens, the De Bruynes, not a clue if they play. Remember the PSG game is on Tuesday. They don't need to win that game on Saturday, so not for me. So by default, Angus, I'm going to have to say Mateus Pereira. I do think if you want to go Mateus Pereira, this is your last chance to do it. Alex Mann said, big question this week, I'm sure many will have, is it worth taking a -4 to go Bruno to Sigurdsson and Bamford to Kane, captain, or roll the transfer and captain Nacho? Again, similar Alex, I've probably already said to someone else, you're going to want Bruno back next week if that lands as a double game week 35 for Manchester United. The probable answer to that is yes. And in your case, by what you're moving in terms of the money there, I'm going to suggest it's going to take you another -4 to get Bruno back if you want to do it. So it's a roll, mate, for me. Darren Masson, is Harry okay for the weekend? Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I watched him play 90 minutes for Tottenham on Sunday. I don't get what the concern is. Do we suddenly think he's been forced through against Manchester City and he's not going to be fit to play Sheffield United 7 days later? Tottenham don't have a game next midweek. There's literally no reason for him not to play. The only reason he won't play is if he's had a setback in training this week. I can't see why that'd be an issue. For me, as it stands right now, he's 100% to play. Listen, I'm captaining him. There's not a doubt in my mind. Matthew Halliday, hi James, do you think that the prospect of a blank game week 36 with only 4 fixtures has become stronger given that there's been no announcement on double game week 36 yet? No, I don't think that makes a difference because I think it's purely up to FPL. And when they add the fixtures in, they need to move the dates at the same time. It's as simple as that. It's purely up to FPL. I don't think that's either increased or decreased the prospect. With every passing hour, we are decreasing the potential of the fixtures being moved into the final midweek, which would then create this double 35, blank 36 scenario, or blank 36. Massive, monstrous double game week 37. If they end up with a blank 36 with 4 fixtures and 16 teams doubling in 37, then really they're pissing the game up the wall, and it's not the right way to be doing things. It's just going to piss more people off. So the correct way to do it would be double 35, blank 36. Can I be certain that they'll change the dates? No, I don't work for FPL. But I don't think it's up to FPL where they do it. The fact that we haven't got the fixtures yet makes no difference in my opinion. Dylan Farrell says 53 in the live chat. I expect to see 50 likes, people. Thank you very much, Dylan. I see about double that in the chat now. Do remember to give the video a like and the channel a subscribe if you're enjoying the stream. Thanks again, guys. Ray Guna, hi mate. Do you think Forster will keep his league place? Well, McCarthy played the last league game, so Mendy is my other keeper. I'm wondering if I should do Forster to Sanchez in case for game week 36 or holding to Holgate. Fun moves, lol. Well, I know why you want to do them, mate. The best solution is just roll, mate. Just roll, unless you get an indication tonight that Rob Holding is extremely unlikely to play for Arsenal on Sunday against Newcastle and you don't have the bench cover. You're better off rolling, mate. Take the information. Any doubts at the moment, roll. This is a really straightforward week for me to roll. The only people who shouldn't be rolling right now, those are on wildcard, who I feel a little bit sorry for at the moment. Because you can't have certainty in what's going to happen. And if you want to bench boost in 35, which will still be a shit show because of the rotation, you're going to be wildcarding now. I get that. For the majority of other people, I promise you, you got doubts, roll a transfer. It's going to come in so handy for you because the game's going to open up real quick. Mercer says, hi James, have Phillips, Rudiger, Holding, Diaz and Cody in defence, 0.4 to spend. What would you do? No chips left, 1 free transfer. Thanks. Roll that transfer. Liam House says, you've got players this week, haven't you? Rudiger, Holding, Diaz, Cody. I mean, you've got at least, I would have thought, Cody's obviously a certainty. Phillips could be back for Liverpool. You're probably leaving him as first sub. Rudiger, because Chelsea don't play till Wednesday, I would expect to play. Diaz probably doesn't. But then obviously John Stones is suspended. I think it could be like Laporte and Garcia tomorrow. Or even the really uncomfortable Laporte and Aki combination. It could even be that for Manchester City tomorrow. Holding probably does play on Sunday. Holding literally is dependent right now on David Luiz. It's his fitness that's important. So if you've got concerns with that 0.4, I would look to move on genuinely Ruben Diaz. Because that opens up everybody in the game for you. That's generally what I'd be thinking. Or if you're really concerned, Rob Holding, and then that's going to give you what? Defenders at sort of 4.6 or below. There must be something there that you can look at. It probably doesn't get you into Everton or Villa. There might be something you can, if you want to look at sort of Palace maybe. Genuine might sound ridiculous. And that's even that. You're better off rolling. You don't want to buy a Palace defender who's going to play this week against Man City, do you? Roll transfer. Liam House says, Fofana to Holgate or Leno to Pickford to fund Calvert-Lewin. Fofana to Holgate or Leno to Pickford to fund Calvert-Lewin. I'm going to have to advise the Pickford move. Damien Rosowski, did I miss the deadline, James? Oh shit, no you didn't. It's not till tomorrow, my friend. Go back to the start if you want to know the reason why this stream is 24 hours early. Stian Bosdale, do you have a non-template recommended differential for the rest of the season? One for each pitch position, if I may ask. A differential for the rest of the season. Jordan Pickford in goal. Defensively it's tougher. I will say Alioski of Leeds, Wilfred Zaha in midfield. Up front, scraping the barrel, isn't it? Che Adams as a differential name. Pedro Donnelly, hey James, would you make a Rafinha out for JWP for the running, sitting on 2 free transfers and playing for the future game weeks? Well, in that case, obviously you want to make a move. In the first case, if you're unsure on that, just make sure you're happy with your goalkeepers. Always a good time to swap when you've got 2 free transfers and you're not sure what to do. Rafinha to JWP, I don't hate. JWP, you know in the double gets you 4 points. You know he covers you for 36, if that's the way it plans out. I don't hate that transfer. It's dull as dishwater, mate, but I understand the reasoning behind it. I think it's fine. Kartik Rao, Jota Vardy out for Kane and Son. If they're free transfers, my friend, you won't get too much argument from me. Rob Pick, hi mate, 3 transfers left in Sky. Rafinha, a hold or sell? It's a good question, Rob. I obviously need all the team news before I make a decision. It might be that I go to Zaha, if I can get his fucking name out. Go to Zaha on Saturday. Is a possibility. But I think I'm more likely to hold Rob, because even if he's back the week, to be honest, if he's back for the last 3 games, I think I'm probably better off just holding the transfer, to be honest. So I think at the moment it's probably a hold, mate. Mark says Son and Greenwood and a load of cash, or Son and Bruno, nothing in the bank. I hope tonight does shed some light. I presume that's what that's meant to say. It's Son and Bruno for me. At Greenwood, Cavani, Pogba, I've stressed massive rotation fears. I've got a theory that Bruno won't play at Aston Villa in game week 35 as the first part of a double, if it happens. But Bruno tends to always play, doesn't he? So it's just a personal theory that I've got. So it's Bruno for me, mate. Go with Bruno. Alistair Cooper, afternoon, James. Wondering your thoughts for Jota. Thinking about taking him out for a player as a better matchup this week and a double next week. Excuse me. Mount, Greenwood, Maddison, Zaha and Siggy options. That sort of question is really dangerous for me to answer, because I could say Mason Mount and it will give you bigger problems for game week 36, with obviously Chelsea likely to blank in game week 36. So therefore I have to recommend someone from the other 4 clubs. Therefore, the answer I'm going to get is Zaha. Are you not desperate to move from Jota to Zaha this week, are you? So if you've got 1 free transfer, same answer. Keep on rolling. Nicky Kassam says, in relation to Sheffield United defence, who do we think will get the most joy this weekend out of Kane and Son? Not sure I understand the question. Who will get the most joy? In terms of which defender will do best against them. I mean, with what they've got available, the best one's Egan. If that answers your question. Alfredo says, FPL deadline so fast. I thought it was on Friday. I missed it. You ain't missed nothing, mate. It is on Friday. It amazes me how many people get worried when this sort of thing happens. Rob picked 2 FTs in FPL. Got the same dilemma with Leno and Forster. Worth moving one on and rolling, or prefer to look at selling Cody or holding. Only want to make one move. I think, Rob, if you've got the money, go one of the 2. We've said Martinez or Pickford. Honestly, and that's what I would do in that position. I think I got the 2. I'm not concerned that Leno doesn't play this weekend. I don't expect him to do anything anyway, so I don't actually particularly care whether he plays or not, because I'm expecting it to be a 1 or 2 pointer. It's not a big enough deal to me. For yourself, yeah, I think move on, mate. If you can get to Martinez, that's the ideal, mate. Otherwise, I think Pickford's a pretty good fullback, actually. Callum says, I missed the deadline now, just like you missed on Zaha. I missed on Zaha because the rumours about Diogo Jota were completely incorrect, and then there was no need for me to buy him. But you can see now there was some wisdom in my thinking. Alistair Coper, what did you think about what Carragher said about our performance on Sunday? He focused on a lack of coverage. I think it also was a lack of confidence and ability for some players. I'd seen it, Alistair. Yeah, no, to be honest, I didn't see it till sometime yesterday, actually. First thing is, go back to when Tottenham lost 3-0 to Manchester City a couple of months ago. You won't have heard me criticising Jose Mourinho after that game, because they're too fucking good. You just accept it. They blitzed us. What wasn't highlighted was what City did so well. So City let Dyer and Alderweireld have the ball all game and then went, yeah, do you know what? When you go into midfield areas, we're going to cut your passing lines. It's all about passing lines. That's what Carragher should have said. So when he's showing Winks striding out with the ball and he's got no one to pass to, and he doesn't want to give the ball away, because when you turn over the ball to Manchester City, you're in trouble, and he thought it was better to go back and recycle possession, look at what Manchester City are doing with the passing lines. They're cutting off all the passing lines. He spoke about a basic, like Winks should dribble into trouble against Gundogan. I thought it was a nonsense. However, the one thing I mainly thought when I watched that video was Moussa Dembele. It's what I always think when people criticise Tottenham. One day, people will realise how fucking good Dembele was. Crollo says, hey James, because Dembele would have given us dominance in the game, give us dominance against anybody. Crollo said, hey James, I have 2 free transfers, want to move Mendy on to free up cash for other moves, Pickford or Meslier. Meslier blocks Bamford potentially. Sounds like you've already answered your question, mate. It'd be Pickford then. I think because Pickford's had to spell out the team, and Olsen didn't overly convince when he was in it, plus Pickford's going to want to push through to make sure he's number 1 for England with a little bit of competition there now from Nick Pope and Dean Henderson, then I think Pickford plays the remaining games. This is Pickford, honestly. Matteo D, hi James, need Kane back, so thinking of getting rid of either Vardy or Salah. Bruno for a week. Who would you give the chop? Me personally, I'd chop Bruno, but please bear in mind what I'm saying about 35. And I'd do it because I don't think that Bruno will play 180 minutes in game week 35. And that's the reason why. And personally, I would still be captaining Iheanacho next week as long as he's still fit. And if not, I captain Vardy in that fixture against Newcastle. That's what I'll be doing. So even then, I don't have the need for Bruno captaincy. I probably certainly do have the need for Mohamed Salah. Looking at game week 36, Liverpool away to West Brom. Yes, please. Thank you very much. So, there's your answer. For me, it'd be a chop Bruno. FPL telling Josh, hi James, no questions, mate. Just wanted to wish you good luck this game week. I'm glad you had a good time at the final. Back in the ground atmosphere. Thanks very much, mate. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was disappointing to get beat, but it was amazing to be back. And the atmosphere was so much better than what I could imagine. I couldn't put into words how I felt before the game to be back at football. It was a pleasure to be back. Pritish said, I need to chase my mini-league leader who is leading by 50 points. Given the difference, does it make sense to take a punt and switch Son to Bale? Or is it a desperate move since Son will keep his place with Bale? So, you'll see. I've got Bale on the captaincy matrix. I think he probably plays. I think Lucas Moura probably misses out. but that might be wrong. It could be that all 4 of them play. That's what I'd like to see this weekend, by the way. Bale right, Son left, Lucas Moura in the 10 position, Kane up front, and play 2 central midfield players who want to play football. So, and Ndombele, as long as he's fit enough, would be back in the team for me. And to be honest, I'd probably play him with Winks, actually, personally, for this. I wouldn't bother with Højbjerg in a game like this. But I could have that completely wrong. And obviously, I do think Højbjerg will play. I'm sure that Ryan Mason will pick Højbjerg. I don't think it's worth it, to answer your question. I think that there's other places you can go and find the gains. Remember as well, right? You're behind a mini-league rival who's 40, 50 points above you. Are they aware of what's about to happen with the fixtures? Now, I can't say to you concrete-wise that they will. But literally, if they get fucked over by these fixture changes, that's in enough of a place where, because you know what could happen, you have enough an advantage there in itself. Would I move from Son to Bale this week because I was chasing? No, not really. Because to tell you the truth, I'll get 90 minutes of Heung-min Son and I'll probably get about 70 minutes of Gareth Bale. And on that basis alone, I expect Son to outscore Bale. Trent Ireland said, "Hi James, would you expect Cancelo to start versus Palace after playing 60 minutes versus PSG?" I think the answer to that is, does he decide he wants to play Zinchenko against PSG on Tuesday? It's not to say Cancelo can't play both games or Zinchenko can't play both games, to be honest. God knows, mate. I have no idea. Mendy could play left back, couldn't he? Right back, it's kind of Walker or Cancelo. Normally, I would have thought Walker gets a rest. Therefore, Cancelo probably does play at right back. But no idea, mate. Dominic Jervis, "Hi James, what are your thoughts on Zaha for 35 and 36 if he doubles?" Very keen, and I'll likely be buying him. It's the honest truth. And also says, "Do you think we can go without Bruno?" Of course you can. No one's essential in this game. I've been without Bruno for the last 7-8 game weeks. It's not done me much harm. Birth Media, "Hi James, how do you think the Sheffield United v Spurs will play out? Think it will be high scoring?" I wouldn't say high scoring. 2-3-0 Spurs. I've backed 3-0 on my predictions, which you can see on the screen. So that's what I go with. I don't see Spurs getting 5s or anything like that. No, not at all. Sherry says, "Hi James, if need transfer in defenders, Soufal versus Dean versus Robertson, just looking fixtures, have TAA. From them, I'd be buying Luca Dean at the moment, mate. That's the way I'd go from them." Someone says, "Thoughts on Son out scoring Kane with the clean sheet and extra points for goals?" Well, of course he can. We've been through this before so many times. It's like, can I captain Son over Kane? It was one game of football. What, Son never outscored Kane before? Of course he can. Frodo says, "Bruno to Son or punt on Bale, James?" Son for me. I don't see Bale playing at Leeds next week, so he's just walking into the next problem for me. Shakalaka says, "In which position one can be more maverick to move up the template teams in 100,000? Are you talking about a position in the team? Midfield. Lee Jackson, "Don't do that. Just give me a heart attack. Think the deadline was today." Lee, you plonker. You're a patron. Like you don't know what's going on. Come on, mate. Alex Austin, "If you had Alonso, would you hold for this game week?" Definitely. Definitely would hold Marcus Alonso this week and start him. Strong possibility he plays against Fulham on Saturday. Eric, "Bruno and Vidra to Kane and Maddison -4. Not Kane. Not good. Maddison's not done enough in the 2 games for me, to be honest. Vidra, I would not be surprised. I mean, Fernandes and Vidra could very easily return this weekend. I think that's only a yes, Eric, if you haven't got Iheanacho or Vardy or Son, and you're really unhappy with your captaincy this week, and you can go against. Stian Buster says, "Don't piss off the spammers, people. Like the stream." Give the video a like, kids. Elliot says, "Rudiger or Jota?" Be Rudiger for me. I personally, as I said earlier, if you got Tottenham, Chelsea, Leicester assets this week, just play them. That was my take. That's why you're not on the bench in dilemma. The only one I put on there is Lucas Moura. I thought might be a problem for one, and because my instinct is that he probably doesn't start, but I would like him to play. So it's a really difficult one. I think because it's Sheffield United at home, in most cases you probably play him, but I can understand for a few people if you've still got, that might be an awkward one. Al Capul says, "Hi James, would you start Rudiger or Bamford?" Thanks. I mean, in that case, I'm probably going to go with a forward though, aren't I? I think it's because of how good Chelsea have been defensively, it's probably an unusual one where I don't have a problem with going Rudiger. You know me, I'll pick the forwards, and I've put a few forwards on the benching dilemmas. Vidra, Bamford, Watkins. If I had those guys, I'd be playing them. And I think for me, if I had Bamford or Rudiger, I'd go Bamford. But then I've gone Rudiger over Jota. And it's not that far off the choice. I think the case against is Liverpool are playing Manchester United. It's obviously a very tough fixture. I think the Chelsea defensive is particularly difficult to leave out. And the good news with someone like Rudiger is as well, he probably either plays or doesn't play. Personally, I think this week, and because I think Chelsea Fulham will be low scoring as well, I don't expect Chelsea to go mad. I predicted 1-0. Very unusually, here's the answer for it. I'll go Rudiger. I'll go Rudiger over Bamford, I think, yeah. Alex Austin, excuse me, what's your view on Coleman Dean transfers in? What do you prefer? Definitely Luca Dean. Alex, what I'd recommend at the end of the stream is, obviously you've got time because it's not till tomorrow, do have a listen to Clash of Correspondence we released earlier because we've really spoke about that. Coleman versus Dean and other Everton defenders. Probably about 2/3 of the way through the stream. Do have a look through that. That's going to answer with clarity. Elliot says he's responding to someone else. Eric, rate the stream. Cheers. HM is game week 35 is surely a double game week. I've been over this. I'm thinking so, yes. Miena says I have 2-3. Was thinking of getting rid of Bruno to free up funds. Any recommendations? You want to free up funds. You want to get rid of Bruno. What would I do in that position? Not Villa. Not Everton. I genuinely would possibly be going for Zaha, which just feels ridiculous to be doing that this week. But I understand in 2-3 transfers. I just think you should look elsewhere. What are you freeing them up for? You've also got Salah, Son, Jota, Lingard. Completely understand why you don't want to get rid of any of them. But what do you want to free the funds up for? It's more the point. If you don't know what you want to free the funds up for, just keep Bruno and look at a different solution. Theodore says, hi James, thoughts on Bruno to Bale for free? My thoughts are you'll be doing the same transfer next week, just to reverse. Eric, do you think Rudiger will start? I think probably yes, but won't be surprised if obviously he doesn't. Darshall says, excited for LOD finale this weekend. Oh, Line of Duty. I can't be because I haven't been watching it. I do intend to go back and watch it because everybody's been so fucking big on it. But I haven't watched it. It's the honest truth. Which I think I'm normally doing at that time on a Sunday, watching football for the next day's podcast. Ray Guna, sorry, should have said, got 2-3 transfers, so we'd have to burn the other one. Otherwise, I'm not going to remember what that's for, Ray. Sorry, pal. JMA543, hi James, always love the content. Appreciate all you do for the community. Just wondering why you put Shaw ahead of Jota in the benching dilemmas when you put it to 2-1 result. Cheers. Very good question. I think one of Salah, Mane, Jota doesn't play this weekend, which means it'll probably be Firmino. I don't think they'll stay with all four playing. I think they'll go back to a 4-3-3. And quite simply, Luke Shaw is the highest scoring defender in 2019. And if United get a couple of goals, the way he's been playing this season, there's every chance he might get an attacking return on top of that. I predicted 2-1. It's also worth bearing in mind, I don't think any of us particularly think the game's going to be high scoring. I wouldn't see anybody out there putting 2-2s or 3-2s. It's just as likely to be 0-0, isn't it? A lot of Manchester United games like this have been very low scoring. So the reason I would look at it and go, what's more likely this weekend? A Manchester United clean sheet or a Diogo Jota goal? And I did think about this exact scenario. And the conclusion I came to was actually the more likely is a Manchester United clean sheet. Which is why you'll also find Alexander-Arnold above Jota as well. Because although I'm predicting 2-1, a 0-0 would not surprise. So that's the reason why. Model Shah, fuck's sake, deadline's tomorrow, right? Yes, deadline's tomorrow, right? Do some research on social media blackouts, my advice. Anthony Chung, what's your thoughts on Bruno to Pereira as a one-game week punt and switch to Greenwood or back to Bruno in 35? Have 2 FTs and plan to free hit 36. You sound like you've got a plan locked in there, Anthony, so that's one I'm absolutely fine with. Alex Austin, I have Mendy, Alonso, Phillips and Rafinha. Who is the biggest priority transfer out? Well, that's dependent on Phillips' fitness. If Phillips is going to return, he's not a priority. I don't think getting rid of Mendy is a priority. I would expect him to play the majority of Chelsea's remaining league games. I think Kepa will play the FA Cup final as well, it's worth saying. Alonso plays this week, so it's not the priority. So the priority would have to be Rafinha. The player you most want to get rid of is Alonso, but don't do it this week. Keep him this week if you've still got. Static says, 1 free transfer. Would you go Mount to Bale? It would cost a -4 down the line to get double game week players. Vidra on bench if Mount doesn't play. It's a roll for me, mate. Joe Finley Batter, evening James. Free hit 35 or 36. Current team can be tailored for both weeks as have 2 frees. Main 35 player I'd be missing without free hitting is Vardy. That's okay. You're probably just going to miss Vardy against Newcastle. If Leicester win the next 2 games, there's every chance to put a Mickey Mouse team on the pitch away to Manchester United in the second part of that double. That's part of the problem with the 35 issue. It's really difficult to answer that. If you've got perfect balance, it depends, right? Because if you're going into 35 and you've got the main doublers that you'd want, i.e. Bruno, Vardy, Iheanacho, some sort of defensive coverage from maybe Chelsea, Leicester, then what are you free hitting to? You're free hitting towards Everton, Villa, Palace, Sheffield United players, I think. You free hitting 30. If I free hitting 35, I think I'd go treble Palace. I'm not joking. I think I would. I'd go something like Ayew, Zaha, and Gator. So honestly, I'd go something like that. Or Van Aanholt, obviously, as well. Another possibility if I was free hitting. So it really depends. I think in terms of what those actual free hit teams would be, I don't think there's a right or wrong. Nearly always, I would say free hit into the double, because the upside should be so much greater. But I think, like, for the United, Leicester, Chelsea players and Arsenal, like, mate, even guessing who's going to play twice be so difficult. So difficult. And you're only going to end up with one goalkeeper, and even they're not secure. So that's why it's not straightforward. Ideally, the straight-to-bat answer would be you should do it in the double. But I'm not certain that that's the right answer, because I think the 4 teams will heavily rotate. Nasir LFC says, man predicted Liverpool to lose United. Lol, who do you support? That's the biggest lull, isn't it? Nasir, I predicted Liverpool to win 4-1 last week. Who's lowing now? Denver said, good evening, James. In your opinion, which Premier League game will be the highest scoring game? Pereira for a punt. This weekend? I haven't predicted any game with more than 3, have I? I'd say there's a chance it's Newcastle versus Arsenal, actually. Would be the one, maybe, that could go off unexpectedly. Nasir, thank you very much for the comments on the overlay. Appreciate that. Benny Blanco, Harrison or Pereira of West Brom for a 1 week game week punt. 1 week punt. Pereira, definitely between the 2, mate. Fat Frank, the PE teacher. Hi, James. Who do you support? New sub. Liked. Thanks, mate. It's on my hat. Vabav says, thanks for doing this, James. You rock. Please like, share, subscribe. Well sold, mate. Thank you. Stewie Bryan, hey, James. Thoughts on Maddison? Suj was optimistic, but I feel selling for Pereira, Bowen or Sigurdsson could be good. I mean, I'd just hold for the next 2 fixtures, personally. Vabav says, start Jota or Greenwood. Crikey. I think there's a chance neither play. It depends a lot on tonight, right? So if Greenwood didn't start for United tonight, I would definitely say Greenwood. I think I'm going to say Greenwood anyway, actually. And Sagani25, hey James, what do you reckon of Smith Rowe over Jota this week? Have Salah, Bruno, no Shaw, TA? I wouldn't play Smith Rowe over Jota. Tempted to go Smith Rowe, really want to roll transfer this week too, but have no Lingard. Are you desperate for Lingard away to Burnley? Roll, mate. Perlo's pen, I have no Kane. Hate it, but fuck it, I'll swing. Good luck, James. Love you lots. Love you too, mate. Ulrich says, how many clean sheets do you expect Spurs will get? Game weeks 34 to 38. I will say 2. This weekend and one of the Wolves Aston Villa games. Pushkar says, what do I do with Cavani and Jota? I want to ultimately get Zaha and DCL Watkins. If the double game it comes through, I have 0 in the bank. Suggestions, quite clear, mate. If you've only got 1 free transfer, roll. Cavani, Jota could both start, could both get left out. You're desperate to dive into Zaha when he's got Man City. DCL Watkins, personally I'd prefer DCL. It's another one we discussed on the COTC we released earlier. We did discuss exactly that, DCL versus Watkins. I'd be tempted in that position to move Cavani to DCL, personally. This was always my feeling with Cavani and Greenwood in terms of going in and why I wasn't keen. Cheers, Joe. Dally Paul, as a Spurs fan, are Reguilon, Son and Kane all starting? Well, I don't pick the team. Fortunately, no longer does Jose Mourinho. Yeah, they should all start, mate. Dion Chung, Bowen differential captain. That's out there. You want a differential captain? I've heard worse ones this week. Andy Mack, hi James, hope you're well. Just joined stream, so apologies if you've been asked already. Do you see Jota starting versus United? I'm going to say no. But I think it could very easily be any of the others left out. Salah and Mane are fasting, I think, aren't they? So that's going to make it difficult for them. So it easily could be one of them. Could easily be that he wants to go with 3 quick forwards. Therefore, Firmino gets left out. Could be any of them. My instinct is that based on performance last week, that it might be Jota that misses out. I think one of the problems that Jota gave him was the headache that I'm playing too well. You need to consider me on the same pedestal as the other 3. And I thought his performance against Newcastle was erratic. By the way, it's worth saying from an FPL perspective, he absolutely could and should have still hauled, but his overall performance wasn't good. And that might be the little excuse Klopp needs to leave him out. That's where I'd stand on it. Spencer says, what you think about Lacazette? Well, Arteta said that he's probably back for Arsenal tonight. If he does play tonight, to be honest with you, I'd be very surprised if he plays on Sunday. He had a tight hamstring. If they risk him tonight, they really don't need to risk him on Sunday. So from an FPL perspective, it has to be a no. Dally Paul says, do you think Mendy goalkeeper will be rested again? My instinct would be no. Brandon says, Dunk versus Coleman, who'd start? I'd go Dunk, mate, personally. Kamal says, thoughts on Bruno to Sterling? My thoughts are that, you want a big differential captain this weekend. There's your answer, Raheem Sterling. But you are probably going to want to reverse the transfer next week. So, I don't think it's worth it. Perez Penny, excited for the Euros? At the moment, no, not yet. Ask me again in 3-4 weeks, maybe yes. Ahmet says, g'day, James. I don't think the Euros should be happening. To be honest with you, I really don't. Or they should at least all be in one country. I think they're a farce, the fact that they're still keeping it in all these cities around Europe. Sean says, Sterling captain, genius or insanity? There you go, it's genius, mate. Good day to Ahmet. Miena says, hey James, to answer your questions, I want to free up funds to replace Forster, Sanchez, or Vidra, Kane and Nacho, and I'm looking to chase my mini league. Right, okay. So that's why you want to get rid of Bruno. I do remember your question. Ahmet says, hi James, Suj captain going to be Maddie again? I wouldn't have thought so, mate. But if you want to know, differential show on Patreon tomorrow morning. Suj will confirm. And obviously, if you do want to support Planet FPL on Patreon, it is obviously the end of the month. If you do it before the end of tomorrow, I will refund you your money because I don't want you to get charged again on the 1st. So yeah, sign up, support us in May for our final month, and the content will not stop on Patreon through June, July. If it does, we'll give everyone a month free anyway. Dion Chung, do you think Aguero is going to get some goal involvement before he quits? Yeah, probably a last minute penalty in game week 38. I wouldn't go near him. Miena says, I also still have a bench boost. Azzy, 2.1k now, still pushing for a 1k finish. 18 points away now. You have predicted us to beat Arsenal. Yes, I have. You've lost one game in 8. And Arsenal mentally are not going to be in that game on Sunday. I think everyone's sleeping on the fact that Newcastle have been on a good run, bar the Brighton result. And if they'd have had St. Maximin and Wilson fit through that period they were injured, they'd have more points. Since Graham Jones came in January, they've been doing alright, honestly. And they play with a bit of intensity at the moment. And Arsenal's heads probably won't be there on Sunday. It's very rare you'll get me make that sort of prediction. But yeah, honestly, I think Newcastle could win on Sunday. Pushkar says, hear me out, James. Do I bench boost in game week 35 with Areola, Lookman, Veltman and Dallas? Okay, or extend it to game week 38 and get Areola, Rafinha, Lowton and Dallas. Sorry for the chaotic info. So you want to bench in a double with 5 single game week players, 2 of which you've got 2 Fulham players who have Burnley at home. It's okay. You have Brighton away to Wolves and you have Dallas at home to Tottenham. I mean, look, it's not the worst bench. Aiming for 38 is possibly going to be quite difficult. Also, because his teams are obviously double in 35, you've got more chance of your bench staying a bench. Whereas game week 38, you never know, a kid might get brought into the team or something. I mean, I don't like either, mate, but probably 35. Joe Finley Bader, my free hit 35 draft has double Palace defence and Zaha. Ignored Chelsea United other than Bruno. Yeah, interesting. Nuazari, what was your reaction when Spurs signed Son? Did you have an inclination he will be that great? I'll tell you exactly where I was. I was in a staff room on a lunch break when I was working in the bookies. It's honestly true. I actually remember where I was. Because I was like, I don't know who this is. I didn't know enough about him. It's the honest truth. It's the sort of one you obviously go on YouTube and everybody looks world class on YouTube. You're like, wow, that's exciting. It's worth remembering Heung-min Son did not have a good first season with Tottenham, and he very nearly got sold that summer. And the club made a choice all round because Son was hesitant about staying as well. Everybody thought it might be best if he goes back to Germany. There wasn't other big clubs looking for him. To talk about him maybe just going back to Bayer Leverkusen, actually. What a decision that was from everybody involved. No, I did not have an inclination he would be a great. So even after the first season, I had no inclination he was going to be great. To be honest, I thought he was going to be a squad player on what I saw in that first season. Paul Spencer says, "Hi James, I have the same front six as you, but I'm playing 3 at the back. Do I start Mount or Jota additionally in midfield? Cheers." I think you played a Chelsea player, didn't you, with that fixture? I'd play Mason Mount. Kumar says, "Enjoy your show. Worth going for Everton, Villa and Arsenal assets if they have double game with 35. If so, who? Thank you." Kumar, strongly recommend that Everton Villa clash of correspondence. I can give you the names I'm thinking about, which are Calvert-Lewin, Luca Dean, Emi Martinez, Ollie Watkins. Those would be the players under consideration for me. Perhaps Gylfi Sigurdsson if I got injuries in midfield. But we go through every player basically on that podcast from those two teams. So strongly recommend having a listen for that. Arsenal wouldn't go near them. Kamal says Captain Kane or Sterling. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, my friend. Made it very easy for you. Anthony Chung, if Phillips is out for Liverpool and Fabinho has to play centre-back, how would you see United doing his Bruno a keep? Well, that's the situation that I'm expecting, and that's why I'm backing Manchester United to win. Honestly, if Phillips is back fit, I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if it's potentially a 0-0. For me, yes, Bruno is a keep, generally speaking. Daniel Saws, I have top 4 captaincy picks for this game week. Nice. You got the treble Spurs attack, you know. If you had Vardy as well, you'd have all 5, mate. Himanshi says, "Hi James, is McCarthy the keeper nailed?" Not a clue, mate. I would not be buying the Southampton goalkeeper. Pushkar says, "Any Man City attackers to target this week for a 1-week punt apart from the pricey Sterling? Who do you think starts?" Ferran Torres, maybe, if you want a big differential. I wouldn't go near it, personally. Sterling would be the one if you really want to punt something. Nikhil says, "Considering Maddison to Ferran Torres as a 1-week punt and Greenwood in for 35. It's okay, but you're punting on a player who might not play. I'm saying, yeah, I think Ferran Torres probably plays. Maddison away to Southampton. I'd just be keeping Maddison, honestly. Johnson Hemingway, James, would you do Jota to Sigurdsson this week given the double for Everton coming up? Nope, rolling, mate. Kamal says, "I like the fact that you read all comments. I'm subscribing now." Cheers, Kamal. Everyone else can do the same. ABJ, to be honest, I do my best. When I normally do this on the deadline stream, I can't normally get through them all. It's normally busier. ABJ, does Kane deserve to be a Premier League legend if he doesn't win the Premier League or UCL trophy? Just all-time top scorer. Love your content. Well, of course. Of course he does. Would you describe Robbie Fowler as a Premier League legend? I would. Never won a Premier League trophy. So, and it's not the only one, is he? So, 100%. I mean, Kane, if he stays with Tottenham, which he's probably about 50-50 at the moment, and the 50-50 is because I don't know if anyone will come up with the money that Tottenham wants. Kane's either going to finish the 2nd or 3rd greatest goal scorer in Premier League history, isn't he? So, I mean, how can he not be? Andreas says, "Would you play Dallas over TAA this week?" Personally, yes. And if you actually look on the benching dilemma, you will see Dallas versus TAA right in front of you. Just wait for the dilemma to swing round, mate. Martin Cook, hello James, I'm going to cut William Jose. Why have you got him? To Kane and Greenwood. To Rodriguez with Bale captain. Trying to up to 3 place in mini league. What are your thoughts about this move? Thank you. I'm going to out William Jose to Kane. Greenwood to Rodriguez with Bale captain. To be honest, if you're not going to captain Kane, I wouldn't bother fucking forcing him in. What's the point? Go for one of the differential guys. I don't mind the Bale captaincy shout. You're getting Kane in this week and not captaining him. I don't think I'd bother. His effective ownership is well over 100%. He's doing no. If Kane returns well and you're not captaining, he's doing you no good, basically. Christopher C. Trent, Bamford, Siggy and Jota, bench 2. For me, I'm going to say Siggy and Jota. Sujit says, deadline's tomorrow, you just scared the shit out of me. I didn't mean to, mate. Trust me, I really didn't want to do this deadline stream 24 hours earlier, but I have to be in support of online discrimination and eradicating that. We have to put pressure now on these social media companies to say enough is enough. Madeline says, best 4.5 million. To be honest, I was thinking about not doing it at all, but I love you guys so much. Madeline says, best 4.5 million defender from now until game week 38. I am going to say Joel Veltman still, actually. I think Brighton might do better than what people expect in these 5 fixtures. I'm going to say Joel Veltman. Dread FPL, right, James, who would you start at, Jota, Greenwood or TAA? Cheers. Just one of them, for me, TAA, actually. Man like Shawnee, keep Vardy or sell for Wood. Keep Vardy. Gulrav is responding to someone. Connell Irvine says, should I roll a transfer or go Rudiger to Dallas? I would roll, mate. Madeline says, if Kane goes to City, he will surpass Shearer's all-time top Premier League scorer. He may do that even if he stays, mate. Torbjorn says, if you had Pereira and Sam Martin leaks that he's benched before the deadline, would you move him to someone or just roll and deal with it later? Already have Trent, Shaw, Holding and Region. I think with what you've got, I'd roll and deal with it later. Very good point, and well done for mentioning Sam as well. Sam Martin on Twitter, he's been very accurate with Leicester team leaks. He's the guy you want ahead of deadline on Twitter. Matt Stewart, hello my friend, my patron, looking forward to speaking to you in a week, mate. Hi James, start one of Jota, Greenwood and Holding. Would Europa League lineups affect your decision? I mean, it potentially would, yes. So I mean, if Greenwood and Holding both played tonight, I mean Holding will definitely play tonight, I would have thought, unless David Luiz is fit. Then that would possibly influence me to Jota. I think that's the answer I'm going to give you from the 3 anyway, though, is Jota. Joe Finley Badder says, so I need to use up my 2 threes with free hit 35. Thoughts on Mendy to Pickford, as was have no goalkeeper in 36. Yeah, it's not ideal, but you might be making shit worse this week, mate, which you know. But yeah, I can see the solution that you're trying to find now. Can you get guys in, Joe, who'll cover you for 36, who don't need to use this week? That's what I'd go. So, like people like Zaha, can you get him in now with those 2 threes if you're free hitting in 35? Bench him this week, ready to go for 36. And I know he'd be in your free hit 35 team, but then he wouldn't be in your 36 team. So just have a look at twists like that. So it might be something like you might have been thinking of leaving, say, a Jota or a Greenwood out this week. Is it a case that you move to Zaha, still leave him out, and then it's ready for 36? I kind of like that sort of cheeky move, actually, in your position. Rishi says, hi James, I'm debating on whether not bringing in Bell this game is a 1 week punt. Should I go ahead? I already have Kane, but no Son. If it's a 1 week punt, fine. Go and get Gareth. I think he'll play. I can't promise you that he plays. I don't pick the team, but I think he'll play. Izat says, 2 free transfers to Burn, Jota and Cody to Castagna and Pereira. What do you say, James? I think we should clarify that as obviously Mateus Pereira of West Brom. I'm going to assume that obviously is. Jota and Cody to Castagna and Mateus Pereira. I'm fine with that, mate. Go for it. Stian says, rolling transfers is really boring. No, yeah, of course, but it's also smart. I know it's the right thing to do, but I've taken minus 24 in the last 3 game weeks, and it's been the most fun I've had all season. Still 1k away from 100k. Then take more hits, mate. Listen, if you're not enjoying rolling transfers and stuff, don't roll transfers. Smash into teams. Take hits. Live a little. I'm not saying you can't. People ask me what I would do. I'm going to tell you what I would do. Tron says, love the channel. Bench Bamford, Jota or Greenwood. From those 3, I'm going to say Greenwood. Daniel Jarman is Kane fit. Yes. He is at time of recording anyway. Patrick Donnelly, have you considered Joel Ward as a 3rd sub? Covers for bench blank game at 36, only 4.3, but are Palace on the beach? There's a lot of teams that are probably on the beach. Palace started well at Leicester. The worst thing they did was score. Yeah, Ward 4.3. I wouldn't rule me getting him, honestly. Yeah, I think the question was from now till 38. I'd prefer Veltman. But if you need the coverage, especially for 35 and 36, then yeah, answer would be Joe Ward, mate. Pedrosa, if you had all 3 of your chips available, any play suggestions with the remaining game weeks, James? Joe wants one of your chips, Pedrosa. Mabine says Lingard going to play. There were reports this morning that were posted in a ridiculous national tabloid newspaper here that he's injured. Ex-West Ham United employee who's the person in the know said there's not an issue. He's been training. He's fine. Pedrosa, if you all 3 chips, what would you do? You know what? It's not easy. I think I would, unfortunately, reluctantly, and it's not a great play, but I think it would be wildcard now to bench boost 35, free hit 36, and triple captaincy 37 or 38. That's where it would be at, generally speaking, probably. Just looking at the final fixtures, Liverpool at home to Palace 38. So like if Salah was like 2 behind Kane for the Golden Boot or something, like a treble captaincy on him, for example, something like that. I hate this bench boost for 35. I feel really bad for people because I think you've got to do it. A, you haven't got the information if it's definitely going to happen. B, you've got to do it. C, that rotation in that game is going to be so bad, I'm afraid. The absolute nightmare scenario for you was the Chelsea-Leicester FA Cup final, and that's what's happened. And it's because of that you've got all these 3-day turnarounds. It's going to make it so difficult. My deadline stream next week is going to be awful. It's going to be more awful for me than anybody else, I should imagine. Daniel Jarman, do you think Cancelo and Aspi play this weekend? Aspi, yes. Cancelo, we've kind of worked out perhaps by default plays at right back. Stian Bostel, any of the other big hitters doing the blackout? Andy and others haven't checked. Andy, I know, is definitely doing it from Let's Talk. I can't say I've been through all the content creators to see who's doing it and who's not. And for those who are not, there's no... It's entirely up to them. It's their choice. I know, for example, Tom from Who Got the Assist has got very strong views on why he's probably unlikely to do it, and I completely respect those views. As a white male, I'm not really in a position to tell people whether they should or shouldn't be doing this. Tom suffered racist abuse. How he wants to deal with it's entirely up to him, and I totally respect that decision. But I think it looks like Stian, the majority of people are going to be doing it. Yeah. YOE, is it worth Son to Jota for a hit? Son to Jota for a hit. Sufel complains to the Jota. What? Did you mean Jota to Son? Mark Hurst, is the deadline not tomorrow? Yes, the deadline is tomorrow. And that's the end of the stream, guys. And the reason the stream was brought forward 24 hours is because from 3 p.m. tomorrow in the UK till 23:59 on Monday evening in the UK, there will be a social media blackout. You don't have to be in the UK to join that blackout, by the way, but those are the timings of it. There will be a social media blackout, and it's to fight back against online discrimination, which the social media companies have continued to allow to happen. This is to put pressure on the likes of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Football fans have shown over the last 2 weeks, because of what's happened with the Super League, that they have a voice, and yes, they can pressure people into action. And I know what you're going to say, and it's at the start of the stream, why go silent then? I completely agree and understand that. But that's what the people have decided to do at the moment. I don't think it's the right decision to go against that. I think it's right now to support it. And then on the other side, we have to make some noise about it. And that's why the first bit of content we will be releasing once that blackout ends is a podcast on online discrimination in football. And what we would like to see is the next steps. So now we're going to stay silent. From Monday, we're going to make some noise. We'd love some interaction and appreciation and some sharing of that particular podcast, particularly on the likes of Twitter, etc. And when that podcast goes out, and it will go out after midnight on Monday evening, so we can help spread the message. So yes, we're going to stay silent now. That's what we think is the right thing to do, because these people have to understand that there are consequences for not dealing with things properly. Twitter put out a statement today that is fucking absurd. Don't understand. For me, I'm quite happy to have ID verification, and for those who don't agree with that, fine, don't use it. It's genuinely my opinion. We have to eradicate this from society, and it's not just an online social media problem. I watched a programme last night on the BBC about institutional racism in universities in the UK. And education is a major way forward for us to try and change this. And it's going to take years, decades to change institutional racism. What we can change is online social media racism and hate. We can change that now. For the longer term good of society, we need education. That's going to take a very long time, and it means the message of no room for racism never ends. It will continue to go on. Me and Suj will continue to fight against it. Thanks very much, guys. As I said, there's quite a few questions about on sort of Everton Villa players. Strongly recommend listening to COTC that we released earlier today. There is more content for you before the deadline. I'm off now to record another podcast with Turfy Topper and FPL_Sky Addict previewing Burnley and West Ham for this weekend as well. That will go out on YouTube and on audio platforms for you tomorrow morning, well ahead of the deadline. Obviously, there will be no deadline stream tomorrow. This was it. For the rest of you, enjoy your weekend. Remember to be nice to each other. If you do want to support the social media blackout, I do recommend you do. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good luck for game week 34. Ciao for now.